Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on Logitech G29 settings. In this one I'll try to explain the Logitech G29 settings for the PS4 version of F1 2020, and we'll also have a look at how to check if wheel's firmware is up to date or not. If you are only interested in that part of it, then you can refer to the time codes. You have the time codes here and also in the description. But I would like you to watch the full video and maybe you can find something new here. Also, if you think I've missed out on something, you can mention in the comments and we all can learn something new today. So let's get on with the video. First, how to access the settings. There are two main ways to access the game settings. One is via the home screen, where you scroll down to game options, settings, and controls vibration and force feedback. For this video, we're not going to bother ourselves with the other settings and just concentrate on the controls and force feedback one. So once we open that, we are presented with all these preset options. Also, the other way of going into the game settings is via the in-game menu. Once you pause the game, you're presented with all these options. Here you just shift over to the next tab of preferences and go to controls, vibration and force feedback straight away. And you're presented with the same options here as well, the default presets and your custom control schemes. The next tab is for generic settings and we are not going to bother ourselves with that. Just leave it at default. So getting into the settings, firstly you have three default presets available to you, two for the controllers that you've got connected and one for the wheel that you've got connected. And in this case, the Logitech G29. Below that you have the custom control schemes where any changes you make, you can save them as per your own naming scheme. As you can see, I have quite a few saved here and they are based on the different wheel rotation locks that I have tried on, and I'll explain that later in the video. So getting into the settings, let me just open my current settings that I'm using. I select that and go to edit, and there we are presented with all these tabs. First one is for control scheme. Here you have your normal button mapping. If any of you are having any troubles with your button mapping, here you can come and check whether all your buttons are mapped properly or not. The accelerator, brake, steer, left and right respectively. Or any other thing that you would like to assign, you can assign it here. Mostly it is set at default for me. Coming to the next tab of calibration. Here you can check whether your wheel is responding correctly or not via the three bars at the bottom here, namely steering, throttle and brake. If I just move my steering, it reflects on the bar for the steering. Steering left is -100 and steering right goes to all the way 100. That means full deflection. And similarly for the throttle and the brake. Coming to the top settings, I have changed a few settings here from the default ones. I don't exactly remember what the default ones are, but these are the values that I use currently and I am comfortable with. These may vary for you, but I hope this can be a good starting point. I've set the throttle dead zone to 10, linearity to 20 and brake saturation to 5. Throttle dead zone of 10 and linearity 20 gives that enough balance for me when I initially press the throttle and in terms of the response that I get via in-game. So for me this gives a slightly progressive response, slightly slower response if you can say initially, so as to not have a sudden increase of power which can cause the rear to destabilize. You can adjust this based as per your own convenience, but I would not recommend going with the linearity above 50 as that might be too high a value. As you can read in the bottom, it says a high linearity value will make the initial pedal travel less sensitive than the final piece of pedal travel. So you will have a lot of lag through that initial part and then a sudden burst like a turbo. So I would not recommend going too high a value for the linearity. The next tab is the most important one, which is vibration and force feedback. So vibration and force feedback to on, which is kind of the main objective of this video. And the next is vibration and force feedback strength. This I have set to 45. In the previous version, that is Formula 1 2019, I used quite a high value for this. I think, if I remember correctly, around 80 or 85. But in this game, the overall force feedback strength is quite high. So I use a slightly lower value for the force feedback strength, as that made the wheel quite heavy. So for this game, I've gone with 45. I think anything till 55 to 60 should be good enough if you prefer a slightly heavier wheel. So I use 45 here. I was using 50 before making this video, but while testing out again, I lowered it a bit again to 45. The next is on-track effects and rumble strip effects to 25 and 30. These replicate the effect of going over the curbs and going over the uneven surfaces. Too high a value will cause clipping and will reduce the overall force feedback strength coming from the game. This I found to be quite a comfortable value. Similarly for the off-track effects to 20. Wheel damper I have set to 7. I think in the default is 5 or 10. I don't remember exactly, but personally I prefer 7. Anything higher than 10 will cause the wheel to be very heavy at slower speeds through those slower corners, as it replicates the effect of friction between the tires and the surface. You do not want it to be set to too high, as it will make the turning of the wheel through slow corners quite difficult. Personally, I prefer it to leave it at 7. Next, understeer enhance I've set to off, as increasing it increases the effect of slipping, and which at times can be quite destabilizing, and which might affect with your lap times. Personally, I prefer it to keep it to off. And now the most important one, maximum wheel rotation. I have had a few questions regarding it, and I'll try to explain it to the best of my ability here. The maximum wheel rotation decides the wheel lock that you will have in the game. I think the default value is 360. So 360 means that it rotates the same amount as you do on your wheel. If I were to just show you this, I'll just go back into the game, change my camera to cockpit. If I just stop the car here, so 360 degrees in this game is a linear 1:1 ratio. So at 270 degrees, you would require a lesser steering wheel input for the turn. And conversely, if you increase it to 540, that is the max setting here, then you would have to turn the wheel almost twice as much to get the same amount of rotation. Initially, when I started playing the game, I was using 270 degrees, but now I find 360 degrees to be more comfortable. It's up to you if you want to set it to 360 degrees or 270 degrees. Anything lesser or more than that would not be that comfortable in my opinion. And the last tab is for MFD shortcuts. As you can see, I have not set any, which I should actually, especially the brake bias ones, which I am going to do after this video. So this was it for the settings from my side. I hope these help you in your gameplay. And that's it for the settings. And now on to the next part of the video, that is the troubleshooting part. So in this part, I'll try to help you out if you're having any troubles in connecting your wheel to the PS4. I'll try my best to explain it as per my knowledge. So if the game is not recognizing your wheel and you are able to play other games through your wheel, or the PS4 is not at all recognizing it, there might be a firmware issue with your wheel, and you may need to connect it to a PC or a laptop or a Mac to get it to the latest software. And for that you require Logitech G Hub software. I'll just explain it to you how to get there. So just go to Google and write Logitech G hub, and the first link that you get will direct you to the Logitech G hub website, and here you can download it for Windows or for Mac, whatever system you have. So once you have downloaded it, it will be on your desktop. So you first connect your wheel to the PC via the USB hub, and I would recommend you to connect it to the 2.0 ports rather than the 3.0 blue ports on your PC if you have any, as I think the wheel is not properly recognized via the 3.0 ports. So you open the app. So once you open this application, if you have your wheel connected, it will show up here, and you can hover over it, and then you can click to get into the specific settings. Here you have your normal assignments. I have not actually changed any of these. Next is the steering wheel. Here you can change the operating range of your wheel. The max is 900. Logitech has maximum range of 900 degrees. Thrustmasters have, I think, 1080, and the Fanatic direct drive wheels have, I think, 540 degrees of range. It depends on wheel to wheel. This is the maximum that your wheel can do, and for a small while I was using it at 540 degrees, but it just created a bit of variation between the games, as the games themselves have their own soft lock. So leaving it at 900 works the best. Sensitivity to 50. This is a linear value. Anything less will make the wheel less sensitive, and more will make the wheel more sensitive. You want to have it at 50. Centering spring strength, keep it unchecked. This is for the games that do not have a proper force feedback. So this basically provides tension in the wheel for it to come back to the center position once you leave it. If you rotate your wheel, it is reflected in this animation here with the degrees of movement. So by doing this, you can see that your wheel is working properly and operating through its full range. Similarly for the pedals, if everything is working fine and when you press on it, you can see the movement on the bars, and this also reflects where you are reaching your 100%. Similarly for the brake and the clutch. If you are having any issue with reaching the maximum, or it going to the maximum too quickly, it can either be a software problem or a hardware problem. If it's a software problem, you go back and click on the gear icon at the top for the settings, and for in front of software it says check for update. Just click on it and it will check for if there is any update for your wheel. For any troubleshooting, I would recommend you to just connect it to your system, whatever you have. Open the app, see that the wheel is recognized by the app, see that the wheel is working properly and the pedals are working properly, and if they are here, then you can just close this, remove the USB from your wheel and connect it to your PS4, and it should work this time. If still something is amiss, there might be a hardware problem if it is not working on any game. Otherwise, this should probably fix any issues you're having with the connection. The video is already a little longer, but just one more thing I would like to add is that a week back I had a problem with my wheel not being recognized by ACC on my PC. I did a race and then I paused the race, I got up for a glass of water, and then when I came back, somehow the pedals were not responding. The wheel was responding, but the pedals were not responding, and I couldn't figure out what was happening. I disconnected my wheel and connected it again, but still nothing was happening. So I had to close the game, remove the USB power. I restarted my PC, connected it again, and opened the Logitech G Hub app, checked that my wheel and my pedals are responding. And then once I started the game again, it's again started to work. So at times it can be a small software glitch that might make the wheel or the pedals not being recognized. So I hope this video was of any help to you, and also if you're still watching the video, then you probably like the content I provide. If you do, then please like the video and subscribe the channel for more content like this. Also, if you have watched my previous videos, I mentioned that I might not be able to upload videos for a while because of my training. I've now completed it and will try to find more time to record and upload videos. I hope you continue to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.